Have you ever faced this error while executing an ER report and it made absolutely no sense to you? This is your video. We are going to see with two examples why this happened to understand this very common error. It's, I think, the most frequent error when executing an ER report. So you won't be that scared next time and you will be able to dig into it and probably solve it. So yeah, follow me. And why this error happens? Well, this error that it's so frequent in ER happens because in the execution, while it's evaluating the mappings, there's a binding to an object or to an expression that has a null reference. Like, for example, we have sales table dot field, and that sales table is a null object. So then there's an error evaluating that because there's no instance. So what does it actually mean? Well, we can see it in an example. I have two examples. One is a real example that happened to me that was the trigger for me to record this video. That it's an import example with the BAI2 format about bank statements. But the first example is a didactic simple one that I've created just to exporting a sales order with the lines. Okay, so we have just this model, header and lines, pretty simple. We have this model mapping where we put a parameter, a sales ID, and then we have the sales table. We filter the sales table. We filter the sales table using the filter function. Remember to use the filter function instead of where. I have a video about that. And then we just map the cast account and sales ID of the header and the lines with the item ID. So if you have followed the the channel, or if you have experience with ER, you may notice a few errors here that will lead the execution to fail. Because ideally, even if the data is wrong or if the setup is wrong, you should prevent that ugly error to happen, because the user, when executes it, it's going to see an error that he or she is not going to understand. So what happens if I execute this format that it's just an XML format? Let's see, very quick. Header, sales ID, cast account, lines, item ID. So if I run this, it's going to ask for a sales order. So I just provide the sales order, okay. And this happens. This is the file generated. Sales ID, customer account, and the lines. So what if I provide a sales order that doesn't exist, or I just don't provide a sales order? There you are, the error. It's already complaining about the sales ID, about the sales table filter, but what's going on behind the scenes? Well, the problem that you may have noticed already is that in the model mapping, here, this variable is filtering the sales table, and after that is using directly that sales table filter dot cast account. So if the sales table filter it finds no records, then the cast account cannot be evaluated, and that's the error. This is a null instance, and this is trying to get the field of that null instance. So instead of just giving you an empty cast account, it will just give you no cast account at all. So what we can do in order to troubleshoot that issue in this example is just use the function first or null. That function also will convert my record list, because filter returns a record list. It could be more than one record that match a specific filter. In this case, we are filtering by a key that is unique, but that the ER doesn't know that. So in order to convert this record list, in fact, I can't bind it to the record. I can't bind it to the record directly. What we can do is first or null. So now this, instead of being a record list like it was before, now it's a record, so we can just bind it here. So now if we execute it, if we execute now the format, well, I have to first complete. And if I execute the format now, it should give me the file with no information. And you may think, okay, but we didn't do the same for the lines. So why, if there are no lines, why is it not complaining? Well, in the lines, we are binding the actual record list to the lines. And after that, in the format, we are binding that record list that we have here, this record list, we are binding it to this XML element, which property, multiplicity should be zero many. I don't know why it's not. It was working anyway. So here we have a record list mapped to an XML element. So in that case, if there's no records, the XML element is not going to be shown. That's different. If we have 5 records, it's going to be repeated 5 times. But if we have 0 records, it's going to be repeated 0 times. So since this XML element is not going to be shown, it doesn't continue evaluating the expressions of the nested nodes of that element that it's not shown. So we are safe. That would be it for this easy example. In the BAI2 format, the error was complaining about the statement validated data area ID. This is a pretty complex example, and I wanted to show it to you because this seems to be an easy error, but it's not always caused by easy reasons. So the reason is not easy always. So if we go to the format here, it's complaining about evaluating statement validated data area ID. So we have this format. This format has absolutely nothing here. So how is it working? Well, it's in the model mapping where it does the magic. So if we go to the model mapping of this format, this is out of the box, by the way. This is all standard. We go to the model mapping here, it's starting to do things, and it was complaining about statement validated data area ID. So where is that statement validated data area ID? Well, we have to look for it a little. Here we see model statement validated data area ID. So here it is, statement validated data area ID. So it appears that following the same logic, if we would have a statement validated, even when the data area ID is empty, it won't fail because data area ID is a string. So the empty string for in D365 is just an empty. It's just an empty string. It's not a null. So we will just show empty, but it won't fail. in this case, it needs to be the statement validated that it's returning no records. We have a where that it's also a filtering of a given list by a given condition. So the problem here is that is bank account valid is not or was not matched in the filter. There was no statement with a bank account valid. So that's already giving us some clues about what's happening. So now what I did at this moment was, hey, I asked the functional, hey, this has something to do with the validation of the bank account. Have you checked that in the file we have at least one bank account that is valid? So we went to the file, and there was in the documentation we saw the line that was for the bank account, and it was exactly that. That bank account didn't exist in our system. So that was it. A problem with the configuration. But understanding how this error works, it's crucial to solve this, because as you see here, the error is just saying error while evaluating expression statement validated data array ID. So the functional had no clue about it. That's it. I hope you enjoyed these two examples. I tried to do it didactic, but this is mostly it. I hope this error won't scare you the next time you see it, and you just will go directly to to format and model mapping to check that particular node, why it's giving you a null reference, or what is not being able to evaluate it. Thank you, and see you in next videos. Goodbye.